Hello everyone. In this video, I will be reading the AWS training and certification documentation for the AWS Certified Developer Associate DVA-0C02 exam guide. Introduction. The AWS Certified Developer Associate DVA-0C02 exam is intended for individuals who perform a developer role. The exam validates a candidate's ability to demonstrate proficiency in developing, testing, deploying, and debugging AWS cloud-based application. Let me repeat it again. It's for developing, testing, deploying, and debugging AWS cloud-based applications. The exam also validates a candidate's ability to complete the following tasks: develop and optimize applications on AWS. So, develop and optimize applications. So, it could be using EC2 or serverless. I don't know. So, yeah, we have to know. Package and deploy by using continuous integration and continuous delivery workflows. Package and deploy. Okay, we should be using. I have done Azure DevOps CI/CD, but I believe for this exam this will be an AWS specific CI/CD service. So point three, secure application code and data. So they'll be teaching or they'll be assessing us if we are able to secure our application code and data. Number point four, identify and resolve application issues. Okay, so we should be able to debug our applications. Okay, so target candidate description. The target candidate has one or more experience of hands-on experience. No, the target candidate has one or more years of hands-on experience in developing and maintaining applications by using AWS services. Recommended general IT knowledge. The target candidate should have the following: proficiency in at least one high-level programming language. That's me. Understanding of application lifecycle management. That's me. Basic understanding of cloud native applications to write code. That's me. Ability to develop functional applications. That's me. Experience in using development tools. That's me. So that is for recommended general IT knowledge. Recommended AWS knowledge. The target candidate should be able to do the following: develop and secure applications by using AWS service APIs with AWS CLI and SDKs. That is me 10%. Use the CI/CD pipeline to deploy applications to AWS. I've done the basic things for that. Okay. What is considered out of scope for the target candidate? The following is a non-exhaustive list of what does that mean by non-exhaustive? Let's search this first. Non-exhaustive meaning. Exhaustive means a complete and thorough listing of something. Non-exhaustive means something of listing but not the whole thing. Okay, so not the whole thing. So the following is a non-exhaustive list of the related job tasks that the target candidate is not expected to be able to perform. These items are considered out of scope for the exam. Design architectures, for example, distributed systems, microservices, database schemas, and modeling. Design and create CI/CD pipelines. Administer IAM users and groups. Administer services, servers and operating systems. Design AWS networking infrastructure, for example, AWS Amazon VPC, AWS Direct Connect. All right, so that's good. Yeah, I'm not confident on that, so this considered out of scope for the target audience. So this basically is a very basic test. So I think I can even pass this without reviewing, having yeah, I don't know. Okay, so let's go. To view a detailed list of specific tools and technologies that might be covered on the exam, in addition to the list of in-scope AWS services, refer to the appendix. Content, exam content. Response types. There are two types of questions on the exam. Point 1. Multiple choice has one correct response and three incorrect responses, or what they call distractors. Point 2. Multiple response has two or more correct responses out of five or more response options. Select one or more responses that best complete the statement or answer the question. Distractors or incorrect answers are correct options that a candidate with incomplete knowledge or skill might choose. Distractors are generally plausible responses that match the content area. Unanswered questions are scored as incorrect. There are no penalties for guessing. The exam includes 50 questions that will affect your score. Okay. Unscored content. Unscored content. The exam includes 15 unscored questions that do not affect your score. 15. Okay. AWS collects information about candidate performance on these unscored questions to evaluate these questions for future use as scored questions. These unscored questions are not identified on the exam. Exam results. The AWS Certified Developer Associate DBA-0C02 exam is a pass or fail exam. The exam is scored against the minimum standard established by AWS professionals who follow certifications, industry best practices, and guidelines. Your results for the exam are reported as a scale score of 100 to 1000. The minimum passing score is 720. Your score shows how you perform on the exam as a whole and whether you pass. Scale scoring models help equate scores across multiple exam forms that might have slightly different difficulty levels. Your score report could contain a table of classifications of your performance at each section level. This information is intended to provide general feedback about your exam performance. The exam uses a compensatory scoring model, which means that you do not need to achieve a passing score in each section. You need to pass only the overall all exam. Each section of the exam has a specific weighting, so some sections have more questions than other sections have. The table contains general information that highlights your strengths and weaknesses. Use caution when interpreting section level feedback. Content outline. This exam guide includes weighing, test domains, and task statements for the exam. This guide is not a comprehensive listing of the content to the exam. However, additional context for each of the task statements is available to help guide your preparation for the exam. The following table lists the main content domains and their weightings. The table precedes the complete exam content outline, which includes the additional context. The percentage in each domain represents only scored content. Okay, so development with AWS service, security, deployment, troubleshooting, and optimization. So in C02, there are only four domains, while in the Cloud Guru, it's five. So it is different. Okay, so domain one, development with AWS services. The task statement one, develop code for applications hosted on AWS. Knowledge of architectural patterns, for example, event driven, microservice, monolithic, choreography, orchestration, fan out. So I'm not familiar with choreography and orchestration. I'm familiar with, I'm not sure with fan out. Idempotency. Idempotency. Differences between stateful and stateless concepts. So stateful and stateless. Stateful is example of stateful is the ASP.NET, the classic one, ASP.NET Framework classic web pages. Okay, so web forms, not web pages, web forms. Okay, number four, differences between tightly coupled and loosely coupled components. Tightly coupled. Tightly coupled are monolithic, I guess, and loosely coupled are those components that not don't has it doesn't have any dependency on each other, but they can talk to each other. Some kind of like that. Okay. Fault fault tolerant design patterns. For example, retries with exponential back off and jitter, dead letter queues. Yeah, so fault tolerant. So if, for example, one server is trying to send data to another server and it can't do it on the first try, so it will have retries until it gets the desired behavior or the desired the yeah, you know what I mean. Okay, so next is differences between synchronous and asynchronous patterns. Okay, skills in creating fault tolerant and resilient applications in a programming language, for example, Java and C Sharp and Go. Creating, extending, and maintaining APIs, for example, response requests, transformation, enforcing validation rules, overriding status codes, writing and running unit tests in development environments, for example, using AWS Serverless Application Models or SAM. Serverless application models. Okay, writing code to use messaging services, writing code that interact with AWS services with by using APIs and AWS SDKs, handling data streaming by using AWS services. Okay, so task statement two, development code for AWS Lambda, knowledge of event source. What's this? Yeah, so these are still under domain one. Task statement two, develop code for AWS Lambda, knowledge of event source mapping, stateless applications, unit testing, event-driven architecture, scalability, the access of private resources in VPCs from Lambda code, Skills in configuring Lambda functions by defining environment variables and parameters, for example, memory, concurrency, timeout, runtimes, handler, layers, extensions, triggers, destinations. Handling the event lifecycle and errors by using code, for example, Lambda destinations, dead letter queues, writing and running test code by using AWS services and tools, integrate Lambda functions with AWS services, tuning Lambda functions for optimal performance. Task statement 3, use data stores in application development. Knowledge of relational and non-relational databases. So this is use stored data stores. Okay, it's great. Read, update, and delete operations. High cardinality participation keys for balanced partition key access. Cloud storage options, for example, file objects databases. Database consistency models, for example, strongly consistent, eventually consistent. Differences between query and scan operations. Yeah, this one is a very basic SQL thing. Amazon DynamoDB keys and indexing. Caching strategies, for example, write through, read through, lazy loading, TTL. Amazon S3 tries and lifecycle management. Differences between ephemeral and persistent data storage patterns. Skills in serializing and deserializing data to provide persistence to a data store. Using, managing, and maintaining data stores. Managing data lifecycles using data caching service. Man, this is a very long page, man. Okay, so there are 11 pages. We're already in the fourth page. Okay, domain 2, security. State task statement 1, implement authentication and or authorization for applications and AWS services. Okay, knowledge of identity federation, for example, security assertion markup language, SAML, OpenID Connect, Amazon Cognito, bearer tokens, for example, JSON Web Token, OAuth, AWS Security Token Service, Security Token Service, yeah, STS. The, the comparison of user pools and identity pools in Amazon Cognito. What is Amazon Cognito? Resource-based policies, service policies, and principal policies. Role-based access control, RBAC, application authentication, application authorization that uses ACLs. The principle of least privilege, differences between AWS managed policies and customer managed policies. Identity and access management, skills in using an identity provider to implement federated access, for example, Amazon Cognito, AWS Identity and Access Management. Securing applications by using bearer tokens, configuring programmatic access to AWS, using authenticated calls to AWS service, assuming an IAM rule, defining permissions for principals, task statement 2, Okay, wait. Where am I right now? Okay, task statement 2, implement encryption by using AWS service. Knowledge of encryption at rest and in transit. Certificate management, for example, AWS Certificate Manager, private certificate. Key protections, for example, key rotations, differences between client-side encryption and server-side encryption, differences between AWS manage and customer manage, differences between AWS manage and customer manage AWS key management service, skills in using encryption keys to encrypt or decrypt data, using encryption keys to decrypt and encrypt data, generating certificates and is keys for development purposes using encryption. Oh man, I'm already tired. Okay, I will read this again tomorrow.